أعزائي المشاهدين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. نرحب بكم في حلقة جديدة من برنامج الحد الأدنى. هذه الحلقة لها أبعاد خاصة في تاريخ السودان القديم والحديث، حيث تستظهر لنا العلاقات التاريخية مع دولة تركيا الشقيقة العديد من عمق الصلات التاريخية، حيث ترتكز هذه العلاقات ليس على عبق التاريخ فحسب، ولا على الروابط المشتركة، ولا على وحدة الدين والمصير المشترك، ولكن أيضا أن هناك مصالح حيوية اقتصادية وسياسية تظلل هذه العلاقات. وظلت العلاقات مع تركيا أيضا تقوم على قواعد راسخة من الثقافة المشتركة، من تاريخ المفردات وعمق الثقافة بين البلدين. يحل بين ظهرانينا هذه الأيام ضيفا عزيزا وكريما، الدكتور والسفير السيد فولكان بوذكير، وهو رئيس لجنة العلاقات الخارجية في البرلمان التركي. فقط لتذكير المشاهد حول عمق هذه العلاقات، نذكر فقط أن التبادل التجاري بين السودان وتركيا يفوق 600 مليون دولار، وأعلن الرئيسان الرئيس عمر البشير والرئيس أردوغان على أن الهدف الأساسي هو الوصول بهذه العلاقات إلى 10 مليار دولار في العام. بهذه المقدمة والطموحات الكبيرة يسرنا أن نستضيف من داخل الاستديو السيد فولكان بوذكير، وهو لفائدة المشاهد الكريم سياسي مخضرم وسفير عريق في الدبلوماسية التركية، كان وزيرا لشؤون الوحدة مع الاتحاد الأوروبي، وكذلك عمل في البرلمان منذ وقت طويل، وهو بخبرته الآن يزور السودان من أجل العلاقات البرلمانية بين البلدين. Thank you very much for having us and having you at this program, and welcome to Sudan.
Thank you, Ambassador. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
It's my pleasure as well. I mean, the Sudanese-Turkish political bilateral relation witnessed quantitative and qualitative progress in the recent years. We have seen an exchange of visits between the two presidents, and there is a lot of mechanism for cooperation and also a lot of aspiration to promote this relation to meet the mutual interest of the two countries. Why the parliamentary relation came a bit late from the political relation?
You're right. First of all, for Turkey, Sudan is a very important country. We think it's a pillar in the region and a kind of an island of peace with all its neighbors. It's a kind. Can we start? Sudan is a very important country for Turkey. We have historic ties. We have common interests. In this region, I think with all its capacities, Sudan is the island of peace, and it's an example for neighboring countries, and it has a lot of resources, some of them unharnessed. So that is why I think many countries over the world is directed to Sudan. They know that Sudan has a future, and that's why they want to be a part of it. But when it comes to Turkey, Turkey's intention is just to be friends, to help, to increase the welfare level of this country. And if Sudan is happy, then we are happy. You have mentioned we have very good relations between the two presidents. President Omar al-Bashir visited Turkey 3 times only last year.
Correct.
The Turkish president was here end of 2017. It really was a glorious visit because it also we witnessed the first high-level strategic council meeting where ministers came together. They discussed and decided on future projects and on the future of this relation. That's why The two presidents said the bilateral trade volume, which is now something like 500 million, should be first $1 billion, and in the long run it should be $10 billion. So it's a huge project.
Yes.
And it is beneficial. So coming back to your question, why the parliamentary relation didn't follow the very positive steps, it must start from somewhere. And I think the visit of the Foreign Affairs Committee to Sudan is a new page, and I'm very happy that I'm proud to be the head of the delegation visiting first time ever to Sudan. But I think this will not be the last one. So with my colleagues and counterparts, we have discussed relations between Foreign Affairs Committee, but this is a tree in the forest. The parliament is the forest.
Yes.
So we are aiming to act as a coordinator in this parliamentary close relation. So when the speakers meet first time, I think it will be this year, we will be prepared for a memorandum to be signed, which in a way we don't need a memorandum for close relations between parliaments, but it is a kind of a message to the world that Turkish parliament and Sudanese parliament is having a official relation. And I have in mind, I propose to my colleague, it shouldn't just be a memorandum to be signed. It should be also a format design where we will know how we should follow this close cooperation. I had in mind that, for example, the foreign affairs committees are like foreign ministries of the parliaments.
Yes, correct.
Parliament's role is, of course, different. Foreign ministries and the government's role is different, but in today's world, parliamentary diplomacy is very important. So the foreign affairs committees can also, in coordination with the foreign ministry, of course, can do this. So the foreign affairs committee can do the coordination of this relation, while when the two ministers meet, two speakers meet, they will have perhaps representatives of different committees. Committee of Education, Committee of Health, Committee of Economy, Committee of Agriculture, whatever necessary, Committee of Energy. And that meeting could be a very useful, fruitful meeting. So I think my counterpart, my brother, will visit us in Turkey, and we will prepare for the speakers meeting, which I think will be not just a visit to see Sudan or to see Turkey. It will also have some fruit in it. So I'm very anxious, very happy that we have been able to start something between the parliaments, and it will. I'm sure once you start something between Turkey and Sudan, nobody will be able to stop it.
I understood that. I mean, parliamentary relation actually it is people-to-people relation, exactly, because you are representative of the people.
Exactly.
And so you are connecting the two people, exactly, and two nations together.
Exactly.
But I understand from your point of view that there is a roadmap. You are laying down right now a foundation and a roadmap for the future, exactly, engagement and cooperation, exactly, together.
This is my proposal, of course. It will be evaluated in Sudan, but there is nothing wrong with it. It is just something to bring more discipline, and also every committee will know that it has a role in this relation. And the speakers of the parliaments will control which committee is doing at what level. And of course the State Council can also have a representative in this scheme.
You are at the parliament level. Definitely the political bilateral relation, as we said before, has witnessed a lot of and great deal of progress in different fields. do the two parliaments in Turkey and in Sudan satisfied about the political relation, or they think that still there is further step we should take to that end?
I don't think the parliaments should be satisfied, because if the Turkish Foreign Affairs Committee paying first ever visit to Sudan, it's an honor for us, but it shows that there is a mistake also in it. I mean, it's too late. It should have been many years before this visit, or the mutual visit should have been realized. So I think, but you know, I know my country, and I know after seeing this beautiful country, I've understood that it's the same mentality. The problem is how to start. Once you start, then you can't stop it.
I mean, you are a lawmaker. I mean, definitely as a MB member, I mean, one of the role is to enact laws. Is your parliament in Turkey and also the counterpart in Sudan willing to enact more laws to facilitate and promote this relation in terms of trade facilitation, in terms, because there are a lot of problems that, you know, might cause the hurdle for the progress of the relation, because there is no enough legal framework, no enough laws. So are you willing to facilitate more resolution and legislation for that one?
We must check how the system works. In my country, I know it. First of all, to sign agreements is the duty of the governments.
Correct.
So once ratification is the duty of the parliament.
Yes.
So the parliament cannot say, sign this and I will ratify. It is the government's job in the meetings to find the potentials and reach to agreements and sign the agreements. When it comes to ratification, then the Foreign Affairs Committee in my country is the responsible. We have to first enact it in the committee, then it goes to the General Assembly.
Correct.
So I think this is very good. In that respect, there is a huge debate in the committee or in the parliament, which also brings into the attention of the people the importance of a relation between a country. So it's not just a ratification of a simple single agreement, but through that discussion, you also bring to the platform of the parliament, or through the television while it is debated, to the intention and information of the people that there's something going on. If an agreement with Sudan is ratified, is going to be ratified, there will be 2 hours, 3 hours debate where people hear about what is Sudan for Turkey, what is the importance, how Sudanese people think about the Turkish people, what is the connection, how was the history, how can we do better. So in a way, you put behind the government a huge support of the people. That is the parliament's role. So if it was just an agreement, perhaps the 2 ministers would have known it, and nobody would have understood what is really meant with the agreement.
In terms of agreement, I think right now the 2 countries might have more than 90 different agreements and memorandum of understanding. But how we can the implementation of this for the benefit of the people. Maybe at this section, my final question will be, we're expecting a meeting at the summit level between the 2 presidents presiding the Higher Council for Strategic Coordination. Maybe
it will be this year.
This year,
probably the first half.
Yes, sometime soon. How can we perceive that? It will be like a cornerstone for this relation to go ahead and to review what has been done before, and to have a future perspective. What can both countries do together?
I was once a minister and a part of this strategic partnership council meetings with many countries, not with Sudan, but I know how it works. In the first meeting, it is like a brainstorming.
Correct.
And forcing issues to be signed, and but the second meeting is you also look how it was proceeding. Was it beneficial or not? Or was there something missing? And ministers sit around the table together with the presidents, and the presidents listen to the performance of the ministers vis-à-vis the agreements. So, and then they instruct, you do this, we must do this, let us think about it. And then one minister says, I have an idea. Since we last met, the circumstances or the developments makes it necessary for us also to add this, etc. So I think it is important. And there is another aspect. Even this meeting is a message to the world, because some part of the world wishes that Turkey and Sudan doesn't have good relations. Speaking very frankly, we don't care. We care only about our relation with Sudan. But having this meeting will be a message to the world as well. They will say, okay, look, whatever we did, we couldn't be successful to stop them from having good relations. This is our proudness.
Actually, I would like to pick up on your final answer, that because some media around in the region, when we have cementing this relation, they said that Ottoman Empire come back to Africa through Sudan. You know, but my question will be, Turkey is returning right now to Africa. Sudan is one example only for this. How do you perceive the African-Turkish relation in this context? Because a lot of people questioning, you know, why Turkey is coming back to Africa. What is your perspective on that?
Well, first of all, for Turkey, we don't need another square meter of a territory. We are very happy with what we have in hand. And I think what we are doing is to increase the good relations with our neighbors or throughout the world, and to decrease the hostilities, and hostilities, some coming from the past, some without our contribution. So in today's world, you cannot live saying that, okay, I'm enough for me, I don't need any neighbor, I don't need any trade, I don't need any relation. This is impossible. World is now very much interconnected.
Yeah.
It's
Small village.
Globalized.
Yes.
And every country needs the other country. So these rumors is actually a creation of those circles who are not happy with our good relation. If we want to have good relations with Africa, of course Sudan will be one of the first countries.
Correct.
But if it doesn't mean that we don't have good relations with other countries because we have good relations with Sudan. Our aim is to have good relations with every country here. If Sudan is a catalyzer, it's okay. If we are the catalyzer for Sudan to have good relations with African countries or other parts of the world, then it's also okay. No country has the luxury to close doors and eliminate possibilities of welfare for its own people. So from this perspective, if you look at what Turkey is doing, we have 13 neighbors.
Correct.
And with all of our neighbors, we had problems in the past. But if you look at each neighbor, we are experiencing the best years of our history. Greece, best years. Bulgaria, Moldavia, Romania,
the whole Balkan.
Ukraine,
yes.
Russia, Georgia, Iran. Only with Syria we had good relations. Unfortunately, things developed without our control. But for example, let me explain our relation with Russia. We fought 300 years with the Russians.
Correct.
But now we have the best relations. Why? Because we need to have good relations
There
with
are
our
common
neighbors.
interests together.
And we're talking about $35 billion of trade and pipelines, natural gas pipelines, nuclear power stations, military cooperation. And with Iran, we have very good relations. And many countries in the world don't like this good relation. They say, while we are putting sanctions for Russia and Iran, why are you having good relations? And we are saying, look, these are neighbors. With Iran, we have a border from 1639. And if we have good relations, you must be happy. But because we insisted to have good relations, in Syria, when we were talking about thousands of people being killed in Idlib, for example,
Correct.
and millions of people to be again moving, because of the good relation between Turkey, Russia and Iran, we surprised the world. Now nobody speaks about Idlib because the new formula was successful, and we found some ways of. So
definitely, I mean, I will come to that in a further details in our second half of our second part of our discussion. But to conclude this part, I would like to ask about the political process and democratization in Turkey. I mean,
if I may, so just to finish the first part.
Okay, sure.
Turkey is a member of NATO.
Yes.
Turkey wants to become member to the European Union. Turkey is an observer in the Latin American countries' schemes. Turkey is a member of the Islamic OIC. Turkey is a member of the Black Sea Cooperation.
Yes.
Turkey is a part of the Mediterranean Cooperation. Turkey wants to be an observer to the Shanghai Cooperation.
Correct.
To also in the East Asian, Southeast Asian Cooperation. So.
Stabilizing factor.
If we are doing this, why not Turkey doesn't? Why does Turkey doesn't have good relations with Africa? To
answer my question. Yes, I mean this is very important, but we come to that later. But my question this time will be about the political process and democratization
in Turkey.
Pass through different upheavals, ups and downs here and there. But right now we have a stable democracy in Turkey, and after the Constitution amendment and democratic election, what is the strength of the Turkish democracy so far?
Well, I think Turkish democracy is very much strong and very much mature. The participation in elections is over 85–88%. So we're talking about 60 million people voting in referendums or presidential elections or municipal elections or parliamentary elections. And AK Party, I think, caught the preferences of the people, and for since 2002 AK Party was successful in every election, every referendum vote, every municipal election. So it shows that people have a support and trust for the party, and that also is a big contribution to democracy's stability.
But and this is a cause that why people defend their democracy during the coup. Before
that
they
true.
Defend by themselves
that is true.
The democracy.
In my lifetime, I saw more than 8 military coups d'états. Some were successful, some were not. But the last one, the 15th of July one, it was nobody. I haven't seen anything as such. The military was on the streets, capturing places with tanks, and warplanes were bombing even the parliament, killing people, etc. Then suddenly, hundred thousands of people came to the streets without any weapon in their hands. Just they prayed, left their homes, and they were ready to be killed.
To defend their democracy.
To defend democracy. And that was a surprise. and it stopped, and it really, all the organization for the military coup d'etat attempt to be successful, they never thought about this. And of course, President Erdogan was out of the capital. The Prime Minister was out of the capital. And with one television message for 10 seconds or 30 seconds, he said, I'm coming back, democracy is the only way, so I'm calling all my people to go out to the streets and give a lesson to these, and it worked fine. But of course, we will remember who was with us. The Sudan was right from the beginning. The first telephone call came from the Sudanese president. We will never forget that. You will never forget when you have difficulty or a pleasure, who is with you, who is not with you.
Always true friends come to during the difficult time.
Exactly. So,
and even the Sudanese people, you know.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
They're
exactly.
Until the end of the night, you know, at the street.
So we have. That is why I'm saying the democracy is strong, because it defended itself.
Yeah.
When you come to Turkey, I will be very pleased to show you how the parliament was bombed. We keep some parts still, but we will have another municipal elections end of March, and I think we can say that with all its mechanisms, all its organs, all its the judiciary, the executive, and the parliament has its roles, and they know what to do, what not to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Volkan Bozkır, for discussion of this part. Definitely welcome to the second part.
Of course.
أعزائي المشاهدين، فاصل قصير ثم نعود، فابقوا معنا. أعزائي المشاهدين، مرحبا بكم مرة أخرى، ونحن نواصل الحوار في برنامج الحد الأدنى مع السيد فولكان بوذكير، وهو رئيس لجنة العلاقات الخارجية في البرلمان التركي، وهو في زيارة إلى السودان في ظل العلاقات البرلمانية بين البلدين. Mr. Volkan would like to continue our discussion, but this part will discuss the regional and international relation with Turkey and other international actors as well. Maybe the first question I will, on your former portfolio, we are a minister for Turkish-EU relation. Very simple question. Why Europe is so reluctant for a long time to accept the membership of Turkey to the EU?
Well, this year is the 60th anniversary of our first application. So it is a long story, but it shows how decided, how tolerant, how stubborn Turkey is to maintain this relation. For us, it is more than becoming member. It is a strategic target. But in every relation, there must be interest. If there is mutual interest, relation continues and goes on. If there is no interest, then you think about other ways. But for us, even the process to become member was very helpful for my country. We made a lot of democratic reforms. We changed the constitution. We had a new penal code, new civil code, new obligations law. Many laws which had restrictions to human rights or other
just to meet the requirement.
Exactly, but
for the EU.
To do that, we also brought Turkey to a better level. For example, the associations have a better life. Civil society. We had 20 civil society organizations 25 years ago. Now we have 108,000 civil society. So these are good things. So once you start freedom in the society, then you continue with freedom in economy, and so the economic welfare goes up. We have $150 billion of trade with the European Union through the customs union. This is a huge number.
Huge number, yes.
And it is almost balanced. So we are trying to upgrade the customs union, which will bring the trade to $300 billion. US-EU trade is $700 billion. Turkey-EU trade will be $300 billion. So there is benefit in it. But to make Turkey a member, they were saying that you are a big country, but poor. Now they say you are a very big country, but very rich.
They keep repeating different justification not to give you the membership.
But it doesn't matter, because our aim is to bring Turkey to that level. At that level, we will also ask our people once again, shall we become member? We are already at that level. Perhaps the Turkish people say, okay, we don't want any more. Because it is not the European Union we were planning before. Or the European Union countries, even though Turkey is at that level, will say, okay, we don't want.
But Excellency, without making interruption, I think some analysts say that, you know, EU is a club of Christian nations. When Turkey comes to the EU, tens of millions of Muslims will influx Europe. There is sense of Islamophobia in that sense. Do you agree with that or not?
We must differ. There is a unfortunate wind in the European Union countries, which is against Islam, against foreigners, but it is because they had a very difficult economic crisis, and people lost hope, they lost jobs, and normally when there is an economic difficulty, people look at more radical feelings. So we are observing in Italy, in Germany, in Austria, in France, in Netherlands, in many countries, this mood is there. But European Union wanted to put the Christian word into the constitution. But countries objected to it. They said, you can't put this. It is not in the formula which created it. If Turkey is there, there will be a Muslim country. There is already Muslims in Europe.
In Europe,
only
yes.
Turkish people in Europe is more than 7-8 million. So
correct.
We are already there.
The 3% in Germany.
Exactly. They are citizens. They are enjoying the European Union. They are enjoying their religion. And and also different sects of Christianity is there. Orthodox are there, Catholics are there. So difference
Jews
between
are there.
Orthodox and Catholics are perhaps sometimes more than the Muslims and
yes,
the Christians. So I don't think this is the reason. But I think one of the main reasons is, as the United Nations, after the Second World War, when it was founded, the winners of the Second World War founded a security system for them, with the 5 countries having a veto power. Whatever you do, you cannot really overpass these 5 countries. One of them is able to control everything.
Correct.
In the EU system, there is also a similar
they are big players.
Defense. They have qualified vote. For example, Germany has 29, France has 29, Croatia has 10, but when Turkey comes, it will also have 29. With 91 votes, you will block everything. So Turkey 29 plus another 2 29s, and a small country, you block everything. So they're afraid that Turkey will have
as a voting power.
Exactly. Turkey wasn't in the planning. It wasn't designed. So when Turkey made progress to become member, they saw that, look, they will come, and in the voting system they will have, and they know that Turkey will not behave like some other countries who was just becoming member to whatever. So, and we will have 100 parliamentarians in the European Parliament. So this is one of the main reasons. But the benefit, as I mentioned, that both sides need each other. And this customs union trade plus, for example, we have a young population. The European population is aging.
Is aging right now, yes.
And the young population was a disadvantage, they thought. But
so
now
the
it's an
demographic factor is important
it's
as
an
well.
advantage. They can't form a European army. For many years they were talking about a European army, 60,000 soldiers. I was joking when I was EU minister. I was saying, look, make Turkey member, we will provide you 60,000 soldiers in 2 months. This is not a big deal.
Yes.
Joke, but I mean,
Yes.
it is, and also the energy security is very important, and Turkey has proved that it can be a reliable, credible secure energy transfer point. For example, there was a natural gas project called Nabucco, you will remember.
Yes, correct.
There was a big signing ceremonies, etc. But there was no gas in it. So when you say Nabucco today, they will say it's an opera. But Turkey with Azerbaijan, we formed this new pipeline. There is gas, pipeline is constructed. Now Europe says, will you give it to me? We're saying, of course, whatever. The Russian pipeline, they were all against it, but when it came to Turkey, they said, we also want. Okay, no problem.
Trump just yesterday threatened Germany about it.
Well, it's for the northern part.
For the northern part,
but
yes.
I mean, if there is if we are saying that there are some points where you can apply economic sanctions, but there are some points some countries cannot do it.
Excellency, I mean, this is bring us to the question. Turkey is a NATO member.
Yeah.
There is some tension right now between US and Turkey about Syrian courts over there. We have watched and followed the news about the phone conversation between President Trump and President Erdogan. And after the announcement of the withdrawal of the US forces from Syria, there is a real tension. How can you harmonize your membership to NATO commitment and the regional stability as well, specifically about Syria?
Well, Turkey is a NATO member since 1952, and I think, again, there is mutual interest from NATO to have Turkey and for Turkey to have NATO. So we don't see any difficulty to continue our membership, and there is nothing wrong with NATO also to push Turkey out. But the United States, of course, is one of the very important countries of NATO. So we're trying to, as with every country I have mentioned, we really want to have good relations with the United States as well. But it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean that to have good relations we have to do everything a country tells us to do. It's not, it doesn't work like that.
Correct.
So also with President Trump, I think whenever our presidents speak, there has been always good results, not a quarrel or a bad solution. So unfortunately, the mind of the people surrounding President Trump is not the same as Trump. Sometimes President Trump makes a statement and the others are not happy with it. Some resign, some try to convince the president. So we are saying that, okay, our counterpart is the president. So we care what Trump says, and we will talk with him and try to explain, and then his instructions will be the final. So in Syria, again, you have also used the same terminology. Turkey doesn't have a problem with the Kurds. We have 12 million Turkish citizens of Kurdish origin in my country. There's no problem.
The problem with the terrorists.
In the problem, in the parliament, we have more than 150 parliamentarians of Kurdish origin. Our problem is the same with the Kurds. Kurds also have a problem with the terrorist organizations. Turkey is defending them from the terrorist organizations to have a better life. In Syria, for 1,000 years, the northern part of Syria, Kurds Arabs, Christians, Turkmens lived together.
Peacefully.
Peacefully. So now when we see that the other three has been eliminated, forced to leave, and then it is becoming a northern part of Syria, becoming a Kurdish part of Syria, it cannot be accepted, because the people of the region, the Kurds, doesn't want this to happen. Look at what happened in Afrin.
Yes.
When we intervened to deal with the PYD terrorist organization, Afrin is a town of 500,000, and the PYD was prepared to have a battle there, to destroy the city, to have 100,000 people killed. Many people escaped.
Displaced, yeah.
Nothing happened. In 2 days, PYD had to leave the town. Why? Because the Kurdish majority in Afrin said, we don't want you here. You go out. They left in 2 days. So now we have established the 1,000 years old rule. The city is governed by Kurds, Arabs, Christians, and Turkmens. And 80,000 people...
Peaceful coexistence.
Exactly. And 80,000 Syrians in Turkey came back to Afrin. We brought security to Jarablus area. Again, it was supposed to be, after Daesh, it was supposed to be a Kurdish part of... we intervened. We moved Daesh out of that region, and 180,000 Syrians living in Turkey went back to their homes. We're talking about 300,000 people going back to their homes, and they are Kurds. They are going back to their land, their homes. So how can we say Turkey has a problem with the Kurds? We're trying to explain this also to the American administration and to President Trump. President Trump understands this much better than his advisors. The advisors also know this, but their plan is, the difficulties, they want to have United States maintain their presence.
Military presence.
But the Congress gave permission only for the fight against Daesh. Daesh is finished.
It's no longer there.
So they couldn't have said that. But President Trump said it. He said, Daesh is finished. I must bring my soldiers back. But we are talking with the president, saying that, look, if you live all of a sudden without any formulas, like you did in Iraq, then this place, this vacuum, will bring in front of us a lot of difficulties.
But there is a question here, if you allow me, Excellency. I mean, regarding the Turkish point of view,
Yeah.
we have heard that the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Turkey, Gawish Oglu, said that we can accept President Assad if he assume power by election, democratic election.
That is true.
Right now, people are coming to Damascus again. A lot of Arab nations and Arab states came back and established their own embassies again. So there is a trend to re-accommodate maybe Assad back to the Arab League.
No,
How do you think about that?
This is this is not it's not a wave. It is some countries, individual.
Yes, some
decision.
countries.
But believe me, if we are talking about a new Syria, we cannot do it with Bashar Assad anymore. Why? Because we have 4 million Syrians in Turkey. They will never go back if Bashar is there, because they will say, this person is the responsible person who killed more than 300,000 people. It is because of them, his policies, that we escaped leaving back our homes and families behind. So they will not go back.
Yeah.
They will not feel secure. That's why we had very good relations with Bashar Assad. After the father died, and the European countries were criticizing Turkey that we were having good relations with Bashar Assad. But he made a mistake.
Correct.
At that moment, if he had come out as a president, saying that, Syrian people, I am your president, I understand your problem, I will do whatever necessary for yourself. But he couldn't do that, because his family convinced him that if you do this, your end will be like Mubarak or Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein. And because of that, he started killing his own people.
I would like to move to the Middle East. Turkey is part and parcel of the greater Middle East, and right now is playing like an active player over there. Some countries in the region don't like that, Turkey to be part of the active player in the region. But honestly, the question that you are supporting Qatar again is the regional isolation. So this caused some kind of tension over there. What is the Turkish perspective about the stability of the region as a whole?
Well, we really want peace and stability in the region, because if Syria is instability, if Syria is a new country with rule of law, democracy, people happy, it will be good for Turkey as well. We don't have to look after 4 million friends who are living in Turkey. Or if in the Gulf people are friendly to each other, it is one of the main sources of oil production, and it is you have a lot of investments, you have a possibility for trade, etc. So we don't like countries being in difficulty with Iraq, with Iran.
Correct.
I mean, if Iraq is in good shape, who is going to benefit more? More Turkey. So I think the benefiting country is Israel. Now, unfortunately, Israel is forcing the American administration also to behave as they are doing now. We had good relations with Israel, but every time we come to a level of good relations, they find something which nobody can accept. Look at the Jerusalem issue. Was it necessary? It wasn't the time. It is not. It is in Israel perhaps, but Jerusalem is for the Muslim, for Christian, for the Jews. It is a sacred place. You cannot, because you are Israel, you cannot say, I am decided to say. So what Turkey did, because we were the president of the Islamic Conference, we asked all the Islamic countries to come, and Sudanese president was there. And this diplomatic and peaceful reply actually stopped them. All the countries were ready to move their embassies. Only few did that, and all of the few who are doing this is looking behind. If I'm making a mistake,
yes,
it is finished. That important move from Israel is stopped. It cannot. They cannot be happy with what they are doing, and they understood that there are other means than weapons and wars and military forces. There is now this wonderful, peaceful attempts where countries' voices coming together, pronouncing messages. This stopped it. So I think for Israel, they want to have their security. So, okay, but Egypt and Syria were the military powers. They don't have Syria and Egypt anymore as they were in the. So they look at Turkey and Iran as the possible threat, and that's why they are using Saudi Arabia,
to neutralize
Gulf, all their plan is to get rid of the Palestinians.
But do you think that, I mean, preserving the right of the Palestinian people and their historical right in Jerusalem and their return to Palestine is still essential?
The aim is to remove the Palestinians from their homes, and Turkey and the Islamic world, together with Sudan, is objecting this.
Yes, correct.
Because we are against this, they cannot do it. If we were not there, and when I say we, Islamic world, we, Sudan, all the friendly countries, if we were not there, they would have done it in 2 days. Move the Palestinians to Sinai and finish. But we will not allow it to happen. So
maybe another question that, regarding this, maybe your relation with Russia.
Yeah.
A lot of people wonder that how can you maintain this fine line between have a good relation as a NATO member with US, at the same time enjoying good relation with Russia. Yeah. So you have been like a bridge. Sometimes you fail, because you cannot absorb the tension of these two great powers. How are you maintaining that?
Well, I think it is important, in relations, the country can also be wise and intelligent.
Correct.
Russia is a wise and intelligent state. They have historical experience
And civilization.
and they play diplomacy like a chess game. So every step
Well calculated.
is well calculated. We had, as I mentioned, we are enjoying the best years of our 300 years of neighborhood and relation. We had difficulties. A Russian plane was shot. The ambassador of Russia in Ankara was killed with this terrorist group, etc. Perhaps two other different countries couldn't have survived this crisis.
Correct.
But if the states are wise and intelligent, that's why I'm saying, we looked at the forest, and the forest gave the message that this relation is important. So we found ways, and now we are again back to
the normal track, yeah.
So with the United States, we are saying that we don't have the luxury, or you don't have the luxury to have bad relations. So let's find ways of good relations. If you want to be in Syria, you can't do it with Russia, you can't do it with Iran, but you can do it with Turkey. Why are you doing this with this terrorist group? Or with Russia never objects Turkey having bad relations with or good relations. Intelligence state. In Kosovo, we have opposite views. They don't make it a problem. In Ukraine, we have opposite views.
Correct.
We are against the territorial integrity disturbance of Ukraine. We have always objected the invasion of Crimea.
You have our own differences as well.
Or Georgia, we never accepted the partition, but Russia doesn't bring it to the table.
Correct.
So our aim is, when it's United States, okay, this is the package we will do. With Russia, this. If US says don't have good relations with Russia, please apply sanctions. We didn't apply sanctions to Russia. We didn't apply sanctions to Iran. And
discussion is very entertaining and very interesting, actually. We really enjoy your views about all this panoramic, complex world over there. But I give you the final word and the message to the Sudanese people. What are you going to say to the Sudanese people?
Well, Sudan is in our hearts. And in all my contacts here and before, I've seen that Turkey and Turkish people is also in the hearts of the Sudanese people. This is something which is a big advantage. You cannot force this to happen. It is already there. So I wish all the best to Sudan, to Sudanese people, all the prosperity, all the welfare, all the peace and stability. I know that they also wish the same for the Turkish people and Turkey.
Your Excellency, Mr. Volkan Bozkır, we had a real pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you, Ambassador.
We really enjoy your discussion, perspective,
thank you,
and how Turkey, have different perspective to different complexities in the world, and your message to the Sudanese people is well received. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Ambassador.
أعزائي المشاهدين، لا يسعنا في الختام إلا أن نتقدم بوافر الشكر لسيد فولكان بوذكير رئيس لجنة العلاقات الخارجية في البرلمان التركي الذي أتحفنا برؤاه حول قضايا تركيا في العالم وفي الإقليم والعلاقة الحميمة والتاريخية التي تربط تركيا بالسودان. في الختام نتقدم لكم بوافر الشكر والتقدير على حسن الاهتمام والمتابعة. تقبلوا تحيات خالد موسى وتحيات الفريق العامل، وإلى اللقاء في حلقة أخرى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Thank you very much. شكرا جزيلا. شكرا.